All right. Well, welcome back, everybody, to the fifth step of the 12 steps of spiritual well-being and deep happiness. I am back with Morgan and Chris. So I don't know about any of you guys, but I have a step 4 raging hangover. So if the collective we watching this video actually did step 4, I'm just with you on how difficult that actually was. Like, I literally had to call Morgan and she had to walk me through yet again the same person's step. So if anyone out there is, either A, still on their first step, but really wanted to watch this video and find out what's happening next, or B, just like totally in the zone, deer in the headlights from the 4th step, I'm feeling you. It was hard for me. It was really, really deep work. And I'm still kind of in the fog. So having said all of that, I think it's actually kind of cool that the 5th step now, we are going to share that with somebody, because I think we all agree that when we feel heard is when some really cool work happens on the inside for us. So, all right, guys, like, what do we do now? Like, we have this crazy list of all these people, issues, places, things, whatever. And now you guys would typically sit with your sponsor and do this, but tell us how do we find somebody that we feel comfortable with? Now, if we're in therapy, I suppose we could do it with our therapist or like our life coach or whatever it is. But what if we don't have any of those? Like, how do we really find somebody that we can talk? This is like super vulnerable. Right. So like, how do we do that? How would you recommend that we do this 5th step?
All right. So in our literature, another person that they recommend sharing your 4th step work with would be like a priest, or if you have like a good relationship with a priest or a pastor or another like spiritual advisor. Mm-hmm. If you have a good friend that they don't even have to be doing this work. If they are, that's even better, but they don't have to be, as long as they can just sit and listen to you read this.
Okay.
That's all
you go through the whole list?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I have the list of questions right here. Do you want me to read down the list so we can get an idea of what we're doing here?
What we're up against. Yeah.
Okay, so step 5, we share our 4th step with a confidant or spiritual companion and your higher power, spirit of the universe, light, energy, whatever you want to call it.
Yep.
After completing your 4th step writing, what do you realize about your limitations and your capabilities?
Wait, pause there. What do you mean by that? What my turnarounds were?
Yep. And what were maybe patterns that you saw about yourself in the frightened section of your turnaround? What were your recurring fears? For me, it's unlovable, unworthiness, not being enough, other people's opinions, not being good enough. So those I can see as when I'm feeling one of those or all of those things, I act a certain way, think a certain way, and I'm relying on myself. And with those, they call them character defects.
Yep.
Those are the things that when I'm feeling those, immediately that's when I need to say, God, please take this away from me and help me to be the person you would have me be.
Yep.
And the purpose of the 4th step is to see those things in black and white so you can have the awareness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They're like core wounds.
Right.
What we call in the spiritual world as core wounds. Like, and by the way, we all kind of share a lot of them, right?
Right.
Unlovable, unworthy, unheard, all that. And so you're saying that once we kind of see those patterns, that's when, Chris had talked about, because I was saying in the 4th step, okay, so like, now what do we do with all of this? Like, we have it, this knowledge, and then like we're in a situation, and Chris was saying like when you feel that coming on is when you pause and take a step, not a literal step, but like, you know, you take a breath and you say, okay, please help me from feeling these feelings. But even just knowing that this is your pattern, right? Is huge, because now we're not blaming the other person, right? Before we would be, this person said this and this person did that and blah, blah, blah. But now that we have all this on black and white, as you say, now we're saying, oh, this is happening, but it's catching me in my core wounds or in my character flaws. Okay. Yep, I'm following.
Yeah. And then like your capabilities, like to me, that means like, I don't know how to put it into words. Like I'm a very capable person. I'm a very smart person. But when it comes to these things, the unworthiness, the abandonment, the whatever, on my own, I act out. On my own, I get angry. On my own, I manipulate to get what I want.
Yeah.
So in what I learned is on my own in these situations, I'm much more capable when I'm walking and asking for help from my higher power than when I'm relying on myself, which is what I saw in my fourth step.
Got it. Yep, totally makes sense to me.
Right?
Yep.
Chris, do you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree with that. And a really important part about the fifth step is that when you're finally done with the writing and you've made a list of all the people that you had resentments against and then turn them around, it begins to get really, really repetitive. And the reason it gets like that is because it doesn't matter who the resentment is against. You're the one that created it in your own mind.
100%.
So when you have a resentment, like there's something about that person that you don't like, and usually it's something within yourself,
right,
that you don't like, that you see in that person,
right.
And so when you share it with somebody, you see your own pattern, and it takes away your ability to point the finger at other people, because you're seeing your own part in everything, and it's humbling too, because writing it down on paper is humbling, because you're kind of like, wow, this is petty, but this is how I thought. And then sharing it out loud gives it like more weight when you share it with another person.
Totally. It's like when you write the letter to your beloved, but then when you read it to them, you cry, but you didn't cry when you wrote it, because when you say it out loud, it gives it more power. It makes it more real. There's no hiding from it now, right? Because you're saying it out loud. Yeah. Okay, cool.
And in the same sense is like, they kind of equate it to like, maybe that's not a good example, but like a big part of it too is before you start, or when you start with this person that you've chosen to share it with, you also bring your higher power into it. So some people pull a chair out for God. Some people just light a candle, because it's not meant to be like morbid reflection. They say it's not, you're not going through this to make yourself relive. Like you're just objectively going through your behavior and your thought processes and all of this stuff. And for me, it was a lot of this stuff, I felt so much shame. Mm-hmm. And in sharing it with another person and having God there, I was reading through this list and I felt comforted, because I knew that God was there and that he brought me to this point. He wasn't just going to leave me now. Mm-hmm. And as I was reading, I had the realization, like, despite all this, my God isn't going to leave me. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm not so shameful or such a bad person that I'm not worthy of having a God or a connection to my higher power, a connection to the universe. And so in doing that, it almost like strengthens and brings comfort in reading this stuff that you're like releasing.
Cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so we find a person.
So describe any person who's helped you see yourself more clearly and objectively in your process of self-discovery and spirituality. What qualities would you like to have in a confidant or spiritual companion? Make a list of people you would consider sharing your fourth step with. How do the people on this list measure up to the criteria you listed in question 3? Write down the names of the most trustworthy people you know. Do you think that they would be willing or interested in being a confidant for you? Describe your feelings and expectations about sharing your fifth step with your confidant and spiritual companion. Describe who you have chosen to be your confidant and how they reacted when you approached them. Set a time with the person you have chosen. Meet with them one-on-one. Light a candle or do something that symbolizes bringing your higher power into the meeting. Read all that you have written, leaving nothing out. Take breaks as needed. The other person is only there to listen and to encourage you. Remember, this is not a punishment. We are objectively reviewing our conduct, bringing awareness to what blocks us from the light in our fellow so we can grow. Describe what it is like in sharing the fifth step. How did you feel before, after, and during the process? Are you glad that you have done this?
Okay, so we make the decision that we're going to find this person. We make a list of qualities we want this person to do for us, and kind of like almost setting the tone as to how we think it's going to go down. Like in a perfect world, this person would do this, think this, act this way during this moment. Then we find them. And then we ask them if they'll participate. But and we tell them, like, you're only there to listen. You need to ask me advice. This isn't there for you to fix, right?
Right.
Okay. And then after it's done, we like say thanks, carry on, and then we reflect on how that whole process was for us.
Yep.
Okay.
And then in 6 and 7, there's another thing that you'll do almost right after this.
Okay.
So quickly following. But yeah, the step 5 is all about finding that person that you're going to share this with and sharing it with them.
Mm-hmm. If people can't find, this is going to sound crazy, and I'm putting you on the spot and we're recording, but if people can't find it, can they like use us?
Yeah, if they're comfortable.
Like we could Zoom with them or whatever if we wanted to. Okay.
We would be unaffected, so we would actually be good people to share it with, because chances are we have no connection to the people that are following us here, so
Right.
We wouldn't have any like skin in the game for their situations.
Yeah, totally. As a pause, now that I've only done one person on step 4, just to be clear, and it was very emotionally draining for me. So how could I think I asked you guys this during the step 4, but like, and I think you had said like kind of sit down and do it all. I don't even know if I physically could have done that. So how long did it take you guys to do your step 4? Like, did you do it all sitting down, one and done?
No. There are people who have, though.
Okay.
And I think it's important too to take breaks. And what really helped me was like the purpose of this, like I said, isn't to relive it, re-experience it. I had a lot of tough stuff in mine and a lot of trauma in mine. And I just, you think we say the word detach and you think of it like leaving your body, going somewhere else, coming back, this whole thing, but like just emotionally detached from it so I could write it out and not be so drained. But it is an exhaustive kind of process.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. What about you, Chris?
So I've written 2 fourth steps, and the second one has taken me a really long time, or took me a really long time. And then the first one, I was able to do it within like a week. Mm-hmm. And I still got a lot out of sharing my fifth step after I did the one that took me about a week. When I, on my first 4th step, I shared some things that that I hadn't told anybody in my life. Mm. And so that was pretty powerful. But I think the in choosing the person that to share your fourth step with in the fifth step, it's really important that you have like complete trust in that person and that what you say to them isn't going to go anywhere else.
Right.
Because you're sharing some really like deep stuff.
Right.
And so I think sharing it with a significant other might not be the best move because they would be totally affected by it.
Yep.
Because they're so close.
Yep. That's why I kind of like the priest thing.
Right.
Yeah, that feels, I mean, normally when I'm really struggling with something, I have a good relationship with two of my priests that I have found to be really down to earth. So they're kind of like my first go-to, like I know I'm praying for this and I'm asking for God to help me to forgive, but it's not working and I need to talk about it. So that would be interesting, I think. And one of my priests has actually real life experience with AA because he has a lot of alcoholics in his family. So that would be really an easy step for me. But I think, especially, for people who don't necessarily have a priest, you can like literally walk into any church, you know what I mean? And be like, I need help. And I don't know a priest, a religion, whatever it is that would turn anybody down. So, and I ask, this comes up a lot, right? Like when people are struggling, and this is why I know you guys have the first 3 steps is what they are. We do need to believe in a higher power. Like it's almost in every religion and in every healing modality, we must believe in something bigger than us. So, so I get why this whole process is happening. The steps are happening in this exact way. And I always say to my clients that, have a broken relationship with God, like you're not going to get much further in your development and in your growth and in your healing unless you get back to church, unless you get back to God, whatever that means for people. Right. Like, and I just say, like, just figure it out. Like, it doesn't have to be the perfect relationship and doesn't have to be the way that you see on TV or that other people are doing it. We just need to have our own relationship. And I feel like, so for me personally, the priest is a good fit and I love my husband a lot, but I don't know if I could read my 4th step to him. Right. And he's not even on my list. So like that and it's just really, really, really vulnerable.
Totally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, interesting. This whole process I have been baffled with, to be totally honest with you. Mm-hmm. It's so good. It's so good. And I've had like some major turnarounds with like other people. Like I kind of, I'm morphing the 4th step into whatever it is for me. But like I have like epiphanies during them and I'll like call people. I'm like, dude, I just had a breakthrough. I need to talk to you about it. And I share kind of a little bit. It's not like a true 5th step, but I share a little bit of it. And then I talk to them about like, mostly with my dad, like things that I put some puzzle pieces together and like, wow, I have to share this with you. And when we do that, and this is the cool part about all spiritual work, and I'm sure you guys are going to have something to say about this. I'm sure you are. When we heal other people. Right?
Yeah.
Especially those that are involved in us, or they're just watching from afar, and just but the mere fact that we're healing, it heals other people. So this work isn't just for us. It's not only for our immediate family, but it literally is for the planet, and so like I know my dad, he's written me letters back, like the first time, it was actually the 3rd step, but I was kind of already thinking about the 4th step. I wrote him a letter and then he wrote me like this 2-page letter back. Like, that was really big for us. So this work is it's just so meaningful, I think. So I'm really glad that we're doing this. But
yeah.
What else do you have for parting words or gifts for them on 5th step?
What I would say is just you've made it this far, if you're still writing your fourth step, which I'm sure you are, be gentle with yourself and don't give up, because like you just said everything. Things like that will continue to happen. And don't overthink it. And it's just an amazing journey, and it'll continue to give you so many gifts. So don't give up and don't be hard on yourself.
I like that. What about you, Chris?
I think that the fifth step is a critical part of this kind of transition, and I think that maybe some of the things that we wrote down in the fourth step that were kind of weighing us down, this is an opportunity to let go of some of those things, and to kind of turn them over to whatever your understanding of a God is, or to a higher power. And this is an opportunity to bring yourself to the present moment and kind of forgive yourself.
Yeah, forgiving ourselves, and I've noticed this a lot in this process, is huge, because and also too, I feel like some people feel like when we're doing this work that the end result is all about making things okay and making everything good again. And that's not always the case. But what's most important for our highest healing is that we've got our relationship with God, and that our stuff is getting worked out in that fashion. Not necessarily about everybody having ice cream and puppy dogs and everything's amazing, right? Like, it's not always like that. So healing doesn't necessarily mean we get what we think we want. It means that we're getting what is supposed to happen out of the work and the relationship that we have with God. So I think that's also important for people to know too. And I know that Zoom's getting a little glitchy because Zoom is crazy right now, but some people think if I do the work, then all my relationships are going to be okay again, and all my relationships are going to be better. Well, yes, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's all going to, that everyone's going to be singing Kumbaya again, right? I think you guys can agree.
Yeah.
But that
and if it's not going to happen, especially with other people, that's another thing that we're learning here, is like, other people, we don't have control over anything that they do. The only thing we have control over in any sense is ourselves. Right. And when we have this awareness about ourselves, life gets to be a lot easier, because life isn't happening to me today. I'm a participant in life, and I have these tools, and I have a choice about how I want to respond. And I never felt like I had a choice before. I just felt like I was here and things were just happening to me. Balls were being thrown at me left and right. Yeah. And I don't feel that way.
That's cool. I'm looking forward to not feeling that way.
Yeah.
Yep. Yes, I am. Hi, I'd like that, please. Check. No, I'm half kidding. But like, I think that especially when we're in the midst of the craziness of the work, we can feel like everything is chaotic and happening at us. But it's not. It's all happening for us. And I think that's what ultimately we're all going to really breathe deeply. And I assume as we continue on with the steps. So as always, we are here for you guys. So you feel free to comment in the section and email us or whatever if you have any questions. And that's a wrap, I think, on step 5. Yeah?
It's a wrap.
Awesome. Wrap. Cool. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
I'm just going to stop recording here.